What's going on, YouTube? It's Trev. I'm back with my second video for today. I don't know what order you're watching these in, but I already made one on a proposal that I found on Agora, written by Vegas, apparently, and Raider. They both signed off on it. Not sure exactly who wrote it, but basically it's their proposal. It has me a little upset. Well, I'm going to share another one with you that has me maybe a little more upset for different reasons, okay? We're going to talk about, let me go to it. Yeah, we're going to talk about this one right here. And this is written by Rabbi Jebediah. Let me tell you about Rabbi Jebediah. I don't know a lot about him. I've spoken with him briefly. He's had some very kind words to say to me about some things that I've posted. That was appreciated. Seemed like a articulate and very intelligent gentleman. As I said, very complimentary, and that was great. Okay, but on this channel, I don't care if I like you, don't like you, whatever the case is, you always get the truth from me and my perspective about how I feel about things, good, bad, or ugly, okay? And I don't care who it is. Everyone knows, I've got crazy love for Matthew Perry, but if he ever did something stupid, I'd be the first one on here, calling him out on it. Same thing with, these lunatic token guys, some of the terror rebels. I mean, I've praised them in the past, but they've done some things here and there that I don't necessarily agree with, and I call it out on my channel. You'll always get honesty from me. So, Rabbi Jeb, I don't like your proposal, and for specific reasons, because there are some things in here that actually had me, that I was like, that's a unique way to look at it. It's a pretty good idea. So I'm going to go through this with you guys briefly. These videos have been a little longer because these proposals are a little longer. And I don't want to just read it to you and then say goodbye. I mean, I've got an opinion about it that I want to share with you, and then I'm hoping that you'll share your opinions back. Okay, so this is distribute the $4 million in off-chain community assets toward Lunk's revitalization. Now, I get the feeling, and I could be wrong, I don't know. I get the feeling from reading this proposal that Rabbi Jeb is very much in the Vegas camp. And what I mean by that is that it's this idea of taking all this money and putting it into the community pool, then letting the community kind of decide what to do with it, right? And I'm not saying that that's a good idea, bad idea. I'm not really giving my opinion on that. Well, I have given my opinion on it. I don't think it's the greatest idea. But that's not my point about this particular proposal. So I want to go through some of this with you, right? And again, it's very legal. Let me tell you something. This, I will say, is probably the most thought out, well articulated, and just put together proposal I have seen on Agora, on Terra Station, anywhere. Okay? If Rabbi Jeb wrote this, the man has some talent, okay? And I don't know what his profession is, but he's in this field, right? So let me read some of this to you. Shalom. We, the signatories, propose to divide the appropriate 4.1 million from the recently unveiled Ethereum cross-chain multi-sig wallet, and that's the address, into manageable chunks with the specific intent of maximizing the money's use across a wide array of initiatives. Ergo, this proposal seeks to outline a diverse set of undertakings that are greater than the sum of their parts and will greatly speed up Lunk's revitalization. Unlike other proposals of this type, this one seeks to send the money where it's needed most, as soon as possible, with as much clarity as possible, and with the least amount of procrastination. Now, I said that Zeb was in the Vegas camp and wanting to send all this money to the community pool. This first paragraph says something entirely differently. I'm going to justify my opinion as we go on. You'll see what I'm thinking, the direction I'm thinking in, okay? All right, our aim is to ensure that individuals and groups critical to LUNC's betterment get access to funding sooner than later. The initiatives outlined in this proposal don't lean on the goodwill of undoxed individuals, nor hemorrhage funds to pay for unelected dignitaries. Sorry, everything is done by the book and through regular governance channels. Okay. So let's move on. I'm sorry, I got something in my throat. Please excuse the clearing of it. Proposal overview. Divide the overall assets available within the multi-sig wallet into smaller portions. Number 2, hire a legal representative or firm to oversee this detailed process of extraction. Number 3, ensure the money is clear of any legal liabilities or prior entanglements, dependencies. That maybe should be number 1. Number 4, if necessary, nominate certain doxed trusted individuals to act as temporary key holders. The reason that this might be necessary is because the current signers of this multi-sig wallet said that the only way that they'll release this money is to another set of multi-sig signers. Okay, so that might be necessary. Number 5, once extracted, deliver the funds to specific beneficiaries as outlined in more detail below. Okay, disclaimer and motivation. With the recent passing of Proposal 10879, immunity asset distributed by on-chain voting proposal, it's become obvious that the community desires to exercise its voting rights. The 4.1 million in off-chain assets that's recently come to everyone's attention doesn't belong to just a single handful of people and must instead make its way through the trial of governance. The wider crypto space is rife with scams, exploitation, and lack of trust, as the recent FTX debacle proved all too painfully, which is exactly why we need to cling to proven methods. Ergo, any division of community money, such as that 4.1 million, must be done in a decentralized, trustless, and a transparent manner. Our proposal aims to respect community sentiment that was expressed via the passing of Prop 10879 and give the power of governance back to the people. With the steps outlined below, we propose to divide the funds so they can serve as force multipliers in the greater theater of LUNC's rise from the ashes. I mean, the way it's worded, I love it, right? I really do love the way it's worded. Do I agree with it 100%? Not 100%, but I like some what's in there. Okay, so here's the breakdown of how this proposal wants to designate this 4.1 or previously known as $4.16 million with maybe even some USTC in there that we're not sure the amount of, right? So, okay, 35% should go to purchase LUNC and send it to the community pool, okay? To fund projects, DApps, initiatives, developers, marketing, outreach, etc., in accordance with community wishes. These assets will remain there for the foreseeable future once deposited and will fall under community jurisdiction to be spent in accordance with the future governance proposals and their outcomes. These funds are not to be derailed and are meant exclusively for the community pool. So 35% of that 4.16 million, buy LUNC with it, shove it in the community pool. This idea has come up before. Some of the arguments against it are, well, it would be great if we could guarantee that LUNC was going to increase in value, but what if it drops in value? Then we sold those assets, which are currently somewhat stable, right, and put them into an asset, LUNC, that is not quite as stable right now as we would like it to be. Okay, it's been rather volatile, right? But anyway, 35% of the money, they want to go to DApp development. Okay, 30%. direct fiat payout to terror rebels, to be split among their members according to the group's internal voting agreement, in order to compensate them all for months of unpaid work. This portion of the funds can be temporarily frozen at the discretion of terror rebels until they've formed a DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization, which is a legal entity, or some other legal entity to protect themselves from liability. If they so choose, we leave the discretion to them. Okay. If this proposal passes, the funds can and should be paid out to terror rebels at their earliest convenience, in whichever manner they prefer, staggered payments, lump sum, etc. If terror rebels internally vote to reject these funds for whatever reason, then the money will be used to purchase LUNC and redirect it into the community pool for the same purpose as above. All right, so a few things here. First off, who are we defining as terror rebels? Are we defining current terror rebels? Are we leaving it up to the current terror rebels to decide who would get this money and what exactly the allocations would be? What of former terror rebels who could easily prove their work and what they did on the chain while we were trying to reestablish governance and all that, but have left the terror rebels for various reasons, right? What about all the work that they put in? Would they be compensated through this fund? And is it up to the current terror rebels as to whether or not they would be compensated through this fund? Because there's a bit of a rift between current terror rebels and previous terror rebels, right? Where they don't necessarily see eye to eye. So, a lot of stuff up in the air here. Also, current terror rebels had stated that they didn't want previously anything to do with this money. They didn't want anything to do with any money from the community, that they were going to find their own funding, because to take money from the community means that they would be beholden in some fashion to the community, and they wanted to avoid that. Well, maybe some of that has changed, $4.16 million or even 30% of it could go a long ways toward changing somebody's mind. So I don't know about that. 10% fiat reserve to be placed. But again, if they said no, right? If they said, let me go back to that for a second. If they said no, then that 30%, just like the 35% above, goes into the community pool, right? So if any part of this doesn't work out for whatever reason, let's turn it into LUNC and put it in the community pool, right? A lot of this stuff we already know probably won't work out. So it feels to me like, let's make it look like we're trying to do kind of the right thing with it, but we know that's not going to work out. So on the back end of it, let's put in that if it doesn't work out, it goes into the community pool, right? This whole thing feels to me like a way to get an awful lot of this money into the community pool under the guise of trying to do something else first, right? I am not by any means saying that that is exactly what this is. I'm saying that's what it feels like to me, right? I could be wrong, open to being wrong. I don't know Rabbi Jeb personally. I don't know his motives. All right, 10% fiat reserve to be placed aside under the jurisdiction of the Terror Rebels Development and Programming Subteam for the explicit purpose of funding hardware endpoints if TFL withdraws support and leaves LUNC out to dry. Given the legal troubles Mr. Do Kwon has found himself in, we should be prepared in case his company goes under and can't... I will check out this Happy Caddy stuff later. Goes under and can't or won't provide further support for LUNC. The funds within this subsection aim to address and preempt that possibility. I mean, not a bad idea. The team in charge of these assets would reassess the need for this fund once every 6 months. Once it becomes superfluous, then divide the money into two parts, half for the community pool and half as a payout for the Terror Rebels team stewarding it. If they refuse a payout, send their portion of the funds to the community pool. If Terror Rebels Development Programming Subteam refuses to undertake this task at all, in case our proposal passes, send these funds to the community pool. Every single thing here has that backup. I don't know. It's feeling more and more like I said. 10% fiat or crypto to be set aside for contract bounty dev work programming to attract and fund external developers who can lighten and speed up TR's workload on Lunk, a la Jacob I can't pronounce his name. Recent coding work on IBCs. This funding would be under the direct control of the supervision of Zaradar, Tobias Anderson, who would write and award programming bounties for needed blockchain work and delegate them to external non-TR devs with full transparency to the community and, of course, i.e. the work being done, the individual subcontracted to do it, the agreed upon price, the general time frame for delivery, etc. Every completed bounty would pay 85% of its award sum to the external programmer cooperant and 15% to Zaradar to compensate him for the work hours and effort needed to organize and run all this, regardless of the size of the contract. So regardless of what amount of money they're looking for, they get 85% of it and 15% of it goes to Zaradar. Has anybody even talked to Zaradar about this? Because this sounds like the exact kind of thing Zaradar has professed to me he wants nothing to do with. Nothing to do with at all, okay? He has been very, very vocal in that, you know what Zaradar likes to do? He likes to code. That's all he wants to do. He wants to write code. He doesn't want to be involved in the politics, doesn't want to be involved in governance. When that initial Alex proposal came out that posted him as one of the 9 signers, right? He said flat out, I don't want to do it, right? He said it, I think he said it on Happy Caddy. He said it to me in a conversation we had, right? I don't want to do it. Don't, you know, if everybody wants me to do it, I guess I'll do it. I don't want to do it, right? So is this another thing where we know that Zaradar, of all people, would be the last one to want to take this on? Unless I'm wrong and they've talked to him and he said, okay, I don't have knowledge of that. And if I were to guess, I would say that's not the case, right? But is this another thing where they know Zaradar isn't going to take this on? And so since he won't take this on, the money is going to go into the community pool, right? Step by step here, these things seem to be kind of doubtful that they would actually happen or go down. And if they don't go down, it goes into the community pool, right? And again, I could read through all the rest of this, and it breaks down here and there. Duncan of the Quant team would be responsible for certain things. 3% fiat payout to Professor Ed's Kim's grant program. That's wonderful. I think he should be getting a hell of a lot more than 3%. 2% funds set aside for legal counsel to ensure the wallet's holdings are clear of any legal liability. Again, that should, that's a cart. That's a horse that should come before the cart. And this 2% of overall wallet assets allotted for it will be directed to the community pool. If it becomes necessary, we nominate some of the Terra Rebels core founders to act as temporary multi-sig key holders for the express purpose of transferring the funds from the current key holders. All right, wasn't the biggest problem with Alex's proposal that someone was being designated, that there were certain people being designated to be signers, right? Wasn't that a huge problem? Matter of fact, didn't Vegas himself have a problem with that? I'm not sure about that. But I think that Vegas spoke out against that, right? So now we are saying that we should take, this proposal says that we should designate 3 of the Terra Rebels core founders Tobias Anderson, Zaradar, Pedro Borges, Vegas, and Professor Edward Kim, right? This is what I mean about Rabbi Jeb kind of being in the Vegas camp. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm always open to being wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Vegas became part of the Terror Rebels. If I have the timeline wrong, let me know. I think it became part of the Terror Rebels after he even came up with this 1.2% burn tax proposal, 3568, right? By no means was Vegas a core founder of the Terror Rebels. The very first interview that the core founders of the Terror Rebels ever did was with me on my channel. And that was Zaradar, that was Edward Kim, and that was Raider, right? Those were, as far as I know, the founding members of Terror Rebels. Vegas came well after. So to try to lump him in with the core founders so that you can use him as a signer, I find to be disingenuous, okay? Again, if I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong, and I will say, sorry, I was wrong. I have no problem doing that, okay? 1% direct fiat payout to Mr. All right, this is where we get into some stuff. This is where this proposal went way off track and sideways for me, and I found it offensive, right? 1% direct fiat payout to Mr. Alexander Forshaw as a finder's fee for his work in pursuing these funds and negotiating their release from Mr. Do Kwon, but with the stipulation that Mr. Forshaw will not again involve himself in governance making or proposal writing for Lunk. He does remain free to voice his opinions as a private individual and use his personal reserves of Lunk USTC to vote on proposals as he sees fit. If this proposal passes, but Mr. Forshaw refuses to accept the payout for whatever reason, then split the money evenly amongst the Terror Rebels Discord moderator team to at least somewhat compensate all the unpaid work they do in building and coordinating the wider Lunk community. If some of them refuse to split the money, goes to the community pool. So this proposal seeks to ban Alexander Forshaw from having anything to do with LUNC as far as submitting proposals, anything to do with its development in various ways. And I might even skip something else that was in here about Alex, banning him from oh, here it is. If Duncan refuses to undertake this task, Redline Drifter may do so instead with all the aforementioned privileges and responsibilities, but he must dox himself fully. If both refuse, then send the funds to the community pool. If Alex Forshaw rejoins Terror Rebels at any point in time as a quant, and remember, he used to be the leader of the quant team, these funds are to be immediately liquidated and used for purchase Lunk to be sent to the community pool. So they're saying if Alex comes anywhere near this, they want the funds taken anywhere out of his hands by any means necessary, converted to Lunk and put in the community pool. So he's not allowed to join Terror Rebels, otherwise the money goes to the community pool. He's not allowed to submit any proposals at all, having anything to do. Listen, you can't talk decentralized. You can't say you want everything decentralized and then seek to ban any individual at all from taking part in the governance of Terra Classic, right? And you can't say, okay, well, he can vote on things, but he can't propose anything. Who are you to say who can and who can't propose anything on Agora, on Terra Station, or try to come up with any plan whatsoever that they think will help this community and the Terra Classic network to move forward? Now, you have the ability to vote against it if that's what you want to do, right? But you do not have the right to tell any member of this community whatsoever that they cannot even submit a proposal merely because you don't like them, right? Or maybe because Vegas doesn't like them and you're in Vegas's camp, right? This right here negates this whole proposal to me. It makes the whole thing invalid. It is prejudice. It is just, it's mind-boggling to me, right? We have got to get away from this divisive type of proposal and this language that's being used and these fights on Twitter and now on Agora and everywhere else, trying to ban certain people or exclude certain people. Listen, I am not for any kind of exclusion whatsoever, all right? There are a lot of people in this community who I do not like, right? I think they're nuts, all right? I don't like anything that they have to say. I think that they are a detriment to this community, some of the things that they spread, right? But by no means would I ever say that they don't have free speech and the right to voice their opinions if they want to, right? There might be some people, and there are some people who agree with them. They have the right to do that, okay? I'll give that up. Just like Alex or the rabbi or Vegas or anybody else has their right to say and propose whatever they want to propose. But this is offensive to me. You have the right to propose it. It's a hard no for me. A hard no. Because I will never vote for anything with this kind of bias in it at all. I don't care if the whole rest of this made total sense, okay? Let somebody submit it who doesn't have those kind of biases and prejudices and who isn't trying to divide this community. So there's a lot more to this. You guys can go on and read it if you want to, but that's the part that I wanted to get to because this had me livid today. Livid. When I was at work, I even put out a tweet on how pissed off I was about what was going on. And it's because of this one. Rabbi, thank you very much for the kind words, and however you might feel about me might have just changed, but this right here is a bunch of bullshit, right? Don't appreciate it, don't like it, and it has no place in this community at all right? Resubmit this without all those biases and prejudices in it, please, because there are some things in here that might be a good idea. But that stuff right there about Alex killed it for me. Killed it. And, it's being heavily debated on Twitter as well. And I'm seeing a lot of, listen, nobody had a lot of love for some of the things that Alex proposed because it had, it had minting of LUNC in it, right? So nobody liked that. But I'm seeing an awful lot of people coming to Alex's defense on this one and saying, no, you cannot exclude him. We may vote no on whatever he proposes because, we don't like it, but you can't exclude him from even proposing. This seeks to segregate and divide, and it should not be allowed. It really shouldn't be allowed. But that's my opinion, okay? You might have a totally different one. If you do, leave a comment in the comment section. Hit the like button, hit the don't like button. Do whatever you want to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would love if you would subscribe to the channel. But that's how I feel about this one. It really, really set me off, and I hope that we can stop moving away from this kind of stuff. All right, I'll leave the rest up to you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.